Hey guys, it's Dawn here. All right, I just want to talk about PWM real quick. Still having people a little bit confused about it, and it is super important. It is one of the main, it's like the main safety thing that I use and everyone else uses to make sure that you stay as safe as possible and you don't cut out. So basically, before, we used to have to calibrate the PWM and get it to a nice simple round number, which is 100. So we will do a lift test and we'll let the wheel spin, free spin, faster and faster and faster until it cuts out, stops. When that happens, we're looking in the app and we're looking at the PWM setting, okay? Or the PWM reading, I should say. When it cuts out, if it says 126, we will calibrate it back down to 100. So it's basically just saying that we want to, once the wheel starts spinning, or let's stop. If the wheel's not moving, it's at 0% PWM. And then it will go faster, 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 faster. When it gets to 100, then it will cut out, okay? Engine stops. So now it is very simple to understand, 0 to 100. 0 means that the wheel is not using any effort at all to keep itself upright. 100 means that it has used 100% of its effort, it has nothing else to give, and therefore it has to die, cut out, and flop over. So we don't want that to happen, right? Now, when you're riding it, then what happened is the faster you go, the more PWM or effort that the wheel is using to keep itself upright. And then anything that you do, like if you gun it, so you can be cruising along at 50% PWM. When you gun it, you're going to spike, your PWM will spike up to like 70% or whatever, you know, and then you slow down again and it'll come back down. So the goal is you never want to exceed 100%. Or I don't think you want to touch, well, it can touch a little bit if you watch on the free spins, but it all depends on the wheel and stuff like that. And really that's like splitting hairs at that point, right? So let's just say don't go over 100%. So now this makes it easy. I use darkness spot. And so in the settings, when you go to the alarms and you go to sound and you say set your sound alarms by speed or whatever, or by PWM. And then there are 3 options. And the first one, I will set it to 80%, 85%, and 90%. That means at 80% PWM, it's going to do my first set of beeps. And these are the beeps that go into my helmet. And I use a Cardo. Let's see, then the second one, my second level beeps is 85%. It'll beep a little faster. And then the third will be 90%. Now, if I was racing, I would bump all of those up because if I'm on a closed race course, the racetrack is smooth surfaces. You don't have to worry about bumps, speed bumps, potholes, rocks, things like that. It's all smooth, right? Those are all the types of dangers that can eat up PWM. And it can be, it's unexpectedly eat up your PWM and then make you fall. So, so on a closed race course, yeah, you know, you can set it up higher. I think a lot of the racers are setting their PWMs at 90%. And then just being really careful. So what that means is at 90%, you only have a 10% safety margin to play with. If you happen to lose your balance and drop forward a little bit too much, you go very quickly from 90 to 100, right? So this back when I was playing around with PWM and trying to understand, what I actually did was I set my PWM and then I found a pothole and I would ride normally and then I would ride through the pothole and I would see when I hit the pothole how that spiked and how much effort it took the wheel to deal with the pothole and deal with me dealing with the pothole. So there's two different things there. We can all agree that not everyone hits a pothole the same way. A beginner might hit that pothole full blown and just like kabroom, and it, you know, it's like really bad, right? That person, and at that moment, it will eat up a ton more PWM or effort by the wheel to keep the wheel upright than a really skilled rider. Now, another thing is, you know, when you're jumping or hopping and stuff like that, when that wheel spins up in between, you can control that spin. You can make it not spin. You can make it spin backwards. You can make it spin forwards. You know, all that depending on how you are controlling yourself up in the air. So those are all things to be aware of, and how much PWM you're using. Pulse width modulation is what it stands for. Honestly, those words don't mean anything to me. To me, the way that I understand it in my head is I just see it as effort, the effort that the wheel is using up to keep you upright. Once it hits 100%, it just has nothing more to give, and it will cut out. And then cut out is another word that has many different meanings and stuff like that, and I'm not gonna split hairs. You all know what I'm talking about and what I mean. So anyways, that is what PWM is. That is the PWM alarms and why it's important and why we all use it. So how I use it in real life is in my speed run with any of my speed runs, I go back and I look at the numbers. I compare my numbers, I analyze the numbers, and then I go, okay, so the last speed run with my ET Max, let's see, I hit 67.8 miles an hour wheel speed, and I was only at 79% PWM. So what does that tell us? That tells us that the wheel had more to give. But the other day, I went back out on the same roads and everything and tried to do a speed run. Didn't work out. I was at lower speeds and higher PWM. Why? Very heavy headwinds. In fact, right now we are in, there is I don't know, like a life-threatening windstorm that is hitting outside right now. And yeah, really, really bad winds. So that's the other great thing about using PWM as your gauge, because it takes those things into effect. It is telling you the effort that the wheel is using. That includes wind, headwind, side winds, you know, whatever forces is making the wheel having to put in more effort to keep you upright. It's taking all that into consideration, including your battery level as well. So that's why I won't set my alarms to sound at a certain speed. No, I'm having it tell me the effort. So yeah, the other day when I tried it, I was getting, I don't know, I was hitting 50 miles an hour at 80% PWM. And that tells me, okay, yeah, these are not ideal conditions for doing a speed run. So I love that PWM is dynamic like that, and it will, I don't know, it'll save you. It'll save you. It's really good to know. It's really good to set up. The other thing that I do is my pre-flight check, because there have been times, and that cost me a crash when things have always been set up, right? But I didn't know that overnight Darkness Spot ran an update, and when it installed a new version of itself or whatever, all of my settings were lost, and I didn't have my helmet beeps that day, and I was gunning it, expecting to hear my beeps. My beeps never came, and so I crashed. So now, before any big ride where I'm expecting to go fast and I need my PWM helmet beeps, I do a pre-flight check. And what that means is I'll put on my helmet, I'll have everything hooked up, my cardo and everything, because there's all these different points of failure, possible points of failure, right? And then I will do a lift test and make sure that I'm hearing my helmet beeps when I should be hearing them, at 80%, at 85%, at 90%, things like that. That just everything is pre-flight check, that everything is working just fine, and that you are all set and as safe as you can possibly be for that ride. All right, was there anything else? Oh yes. So I'm using Darkness Bot, that's all that I know. But if you're an Android user, you're probably using EUC World. And in EUC World, the equivalent of PWM is what they call safety margin. And you set what you want your safety margin to be. So if you set your safety margin to 20, then as a 20%, then it's the same thing as PWM at 80, right? At PWM at 80 is the same as having a 20% safety margin. So they're just looking at it from two different angles. But it should be the same thing. Anyways, all right, now am I done? If there are any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, and consider joining my YouTube channel as a member. Let's see, I do have a few other videos on how to set up your PWM and things like that. Those are in my older videos. So just, if you ever just do a search like DChampion PWM or something like that, then it'll pop up, or DChampion tether. If you want to know about the tether, you can just do that and it should pop right up. Anyways, thanks for joining me today. Be safe. Happy New Year. I'm going to keep saying Happy New Year until I forget that it's a new year now. And remember, this new year is not the same as a Chinese Lunar New Year. So we are technically still in the year of the dragon. And yeah, I am still waiting for the new year of snake to come in. Anyways, thanks so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.